Hi dudes, I'm Nimsky and welcome to my channel. I realized that I never introduced myself in a video before, so I'm doing it now. My last video is about dreams, and right after uploading it, I got really annoyed because I forgot about a really good representation of this specific topic of mine. So I put that idea in my idea list, and I wanted to do a show and tell video for this one of my favorite movies, but this idea just kept bugging my brain, so here's that video. At first I thought, I can't do 2 consecutive videos about dreams, and then I realized that it's my channel and I can genuinely just do whatever I want. By the way, you don't have to watch the last video for context. I wrote this one to be consumable as its own separate standalone video, but if you really want to watch it, finish this one first, you're already here. And also, this video isn't a breakdown or sort of like an analysis of the movie. It's more of a breakdown of how I felt watching this movie. Alright, let's start. I have big dreams, and I'm assuming you have those too. It's pretty normal for us humans to see each other do cool stuff and then tell ourselves, wow, I want to do that too. And there's something magical about being young and believing the grandest of things are possible. Most of us don't really get too far, either caused by laziness or just the reality of life. But of course, deep down within us, we know that all of these things are possible because we see the greats actually do it. These dreams materialize for us because of the people that show us that it's possible. And these people are usually represented quite well in media, movies, shows, animes, and even video games. The underdog story is well known and it works. Loser dreams of something, works harder than anyone else, achieves his dream, happy ending. People like it, it sells well because, you know, it's good to see our protagonist win. But what if we don't see our protagonist win? What some of us forget sometimes is that in reality, these stories always have 2 sides. For every winner, there's a loser. For every dreamer that makes it all happen, there's a dreamer that doesn't make it happen. And it's a hard pill to swallow because for the most part, we consume these types of media to escape the reality that we live in. And I feel like it's also the reason it's not as prolific in media because for the most part, whenever we see loser loses is represented, it's usually under the lens of love. There's a lot of examples we can pull from, but I want to use La La Land because I do believe that it wonderfully portrays what romantic love feels like in a lot of sides of the spectrum, because the way the movie uses colors, music, and really cool creative shots they make in some of these sequences is probably what sets it apart from all of the other popular rom-coms. To me, it presents itself like a musical play as much as it does a movie, and the way some of these scenes are shot, the transitions and the colors, it feels different. The storyline is something a lot of people might be familiar with. 2 people fall in love, their future plans go separate paths, and for some of these love stories they end up together, and for some, including this one, they don't. And I mentioned this movie to show you guys that the story of the protagonist not getting the good ending is fairly common. But with the media that I consume, it's only ever represented in love stories. And as much as I want to harp on the things that I like about this movie, this isn't really the subject matter of this video. As I mentioned, I do plan on making a show and tell video on movies that I really enjoy, so if you like that kind of content, consider smashing that subscribe button. Hell yeah, baby. For as long as I can remember, I don't think these love stories ever hit hard for me. They are indeed entertaining, but for the most part, the guy losing the girl of his dreams was never a tearjerker for me. And to be honest, nothing really was a tearjerker for me because as a kid, I only ever would cry whenever I was physically hurt or scolded by parents. So for all of these loser loses movies and shows, they never really hit hard for me as it did with other people. Not until I grew up and experienced true heartbreak. Monsters University is a prequel to the widely famous Monsters, Inc. I rewatched this movie specifically for this video, and oh man, this movie hit harder than when I first watched it as a kid. Out of all of the underdog movies that I've seen, This is probably my favorite one. It makes you appreciate a rather common story from a different side. A perspective that most people are uncomfortable with because of how painful it can be. It grounds you in the reality that not everybody wins and that you'll just have to work with the cards dealt to you. This story touched on a specific idea that hits very close to home, and I want to tell you guys about it. For the record, I'm not going to be telling a lot of detail about the movie, but if you haven't watched it, spoilers I guess, it's a 13-year-old movie, but I'll only be highlighting some of the parts that really stood out to me. The story follows Mike Wazowski, with the movie opening with him and his classmates in a field trip. And even from the very start, the movie really wants to hammer down the idea that nobody believes in Mike. Not his classmates, not even his teacher. He eventually gets to experience his first scare, and with some slight encouragement from the monster that he watched, his mind was set. He wanted to be the greatest scarer ever. And ever since that day, Mike was on his grind set mindset. And very soon, you'll realize that despite nobody believing in him, it never really slowed him down. We are then introduced to Sully, and it's pretty cool because they gave Sully a little bit of a background here because they made him out to be as a son of a successful and popular scarer. He is the exact opposite of Mike. He is by default scary. And for this video, I'll mainly be talking about Mike and his character, so just keep in mind that Sully is the Nepo baby of this story. So the two characters meet as classmates in the scare program where they eventually get kicked out by the dean. This prompts them to join the annual scare games to prove to the dean and everyone else that they indeed do belong in the program. So to join the games, they had to join a fraternity. But of course, nobody wanted them, so they joined the least popular frat, Uzma Kappa. And these guys are genuinely so endearing. They are presented as this sort of outcast loser group archetype, so it further emphasizes that underdog tone of the story.
Did you do this?
Mike,
Did you do this?
Throughout the movie, you'll get the obvious feeling every underdog story makes you feel. Mike trains and studies harder than anyone. The whole underdog persona is even put onto Sully himself once the scare game starts and the duo start competing alongside Uzma Kappa. And in the final moments of the movie, you'll realize that even up until the very end, Mike was the only one who believed in himself. The dean, the entire school, even his best friend Sully, knew that he wasn't scary. And eventually, Mike realizes that this dream that he has been chasing for his entire life up until this point was never really for him.
You were right. They weren't scared of me. I did everything right. I wanted it more than anyone. And I thought if I wanted it enough, I could show everybody that Mike Wazowski is something special. And I'm just not.
This is where the line between perseverance and delusion start to blur. This is when the movie slaps you with the reality of Mike's circumstances. Mike never really stood a chance. No matter how much he wanted it, no matter how hard he tried, no matter how much time and effort he put into it, he was just never cut out for it. And it starts to sink into him. Everyone around him was right. Everyone that told him that he wasn't scary enough, that he never stood a chance, they were all right. Another part of the movie that I want to harp on is the training montage that they have with Uzma Kappa once they start working together. In the montage, you'll notice that in all of the scenes, Mike is helping improve everyone else in their team. He's teaching them how to utilize their unique little quirks for these games and helping them become better scarers. But in none of these scenes showcase Mike's improvement as a scarer, which further exemplifies the idea that there is just nothing he can do. He's maxed out everything that he can. This kind of predicament is very reminiscent of the typical shonen animes like My Hero Academia, and I'm gonna use this example because I just finished the show. But it's a little funny to compare these two, both Mike and Deku. But if you really think about it, they're both underdogs. They both want to become the best. They both are nerds in their own respective right. And they both wanted it more than anyone else. But only one of them was given the chance to get what they wanted. Mike never achieved his dream. Mike never became the best scarer. He never even became a scarer in the first place. And this is the reality that's so hard to swallow for me. Because Mike adjusted. He accepted the reality that he was dealt with and he worked with what he had. This is what I and a lot of us need to understand. Because when you grow up, these grand things that you wholeheartedly believed were possible as a kid start to become inaccessible zones of things that are too good to be true. And it feels sad when you notice the slow transition your brain goes through once adulthood sets in. But as with all things, I do think perspective plays a big role in this entire thing. It's sad to think about, but in a way it feels a little hopeful that something out there, something completely different, something potentially better, and something more fitting for each and every one of us is waiting. And as soon as you realize that your race and your finish line is not the same with anyone else, that's when dreams start to materialize again. Initially, I wanted to end the video there, but I felt like it was a little too sad, and the story of Mike doesn't really end on a sad note either, because eventually he works as a scare coach, much more fitting for his nerdy personality with all of his knowledge and scaring tactics, in my opinion. And in the movie Monsters, Inc., it explores the value of kids' laughter, which is where Mike becomes the scarer, or rather the comedian, I guess. Dreams will look different for each and every one of us. Some might seem more ambitious than others, and some might seem weirder than others. But in the end, the only criteria that matters is how it affects you and your perspective on it. Because achieving things can be small or grand, and I'd argue that we achieve all kinds of little things in our everyday lives. That's actually a fun video to make. Maybe. Yeah.